Hello, welcome to I Hate Rock Music. I am your host, Brian Fox, and more rare records that are worth listening to. And I bring that up in a lot of videos about the fact that I'm basically trying to cover rare rock albums from the 60s and 70s that are not just rare, but they're actually worth listening to because a lot of collectors' albums are kind of a mixed bag. There's a lot of them, particularly European progressive records, that are really hard to listen to, but there's so many gems out there. And so let's get right into this one. I'm doing a little mini series on some great blues bands from the 60s and 70s because I want to cover folk and blues and jazz and fusion and hard rock bands and proto metal bands and progressive bands and all these different kind of bands from that area. There's so much variety in the music and it's just wonderful. And so I'm doing a little spate on blues bands, and this is a really great one. King Biscuit Boy, also known as Richard Newell, quite a legend in Canada and a blues master. And by 1961, he was playing in the Ronnie Hawkins band, who spawned a lot of really great blues players in Canada. And there's a really good tradition of blues bands in Canada anyway. I did a video on a band called Whiskey Howl that's as good as anybody, and they're out of Canada. And of course, the original Steppenwolf band, Sparrow, were a blues band that came out of Toronto, and really excellent blues bands. So, 1961, Ronnie Hawkins fired his whole band by 1970, and that band became Crowbar. And so, John Gibbard on guitars, Rial Lanthier on guitars, Kelly J on piano, Rolly Greenway on bass, and Larry Atamanjic on drums. And so that band basically was Ronnie Hawkins' whole band in 1970, and he fired him. And then they continued as Crowbar. And so Crowbar ended up putting out some pretty cool records. I remember buying both the King Biscuit Boy albums and the Crowbar albums and cutouts in about 1971 or two, and just excellent work. Crowbar's Bad Manners came out in 1971, and then another album called Larger Than Life in 1971, and then another album called Heavy Duty in 1972. But all more importantly, the Crowbar albums are really good, but the Crowbar backed King Biscuit Boy records are the ones I'm going to be talking about from 1970 and 1971. And so Official Music came out in 1970, and then Goodens came out in 1971, both on the Paramount label in the United States. And Goodens is remarkable in the fact that it came in a burlap sack, and you can still get copies of it out there fairly inexpensively. But it's really cool to have this burlap sack that album came in. Great graphics, and so both those albums came out, and then Biscuit Boy continued. 1974, he released another solo LP on Epic, backed by Alan Toussaint and his band, and then did 7 more solo LPs. So he continued to make music. But as I mentioned, I'm going to focus in on these two King Biscuit Boy albums because, as far as I'm concerned, they're two of the best white blues band records ever made. Just really great top level musicianship, great variations on a lot of blues standards, and then just an insane amount of energy. And Richard Newell, aka King Biscuit Boy, is a hell of a harp player and a really cool vocalist. So you really get the total package here. So Official came out in 1970, opens with just an incredibly rousing version of Highway 61. Of course, we've heard everybody and his mom do the song Highway 61, but this is one of the best versions I've ever heard. It's just full of so much energy and so much great playing and so much great singing. And the album continues. Lots of standards. Don't Go No Further, Carina, Carina, Key to the Highway, Hoy, Hoy, Hoy. All done extremely well, firing on all pistons, as I like to say a lot of times. Really cool arrangements. They don't stray a lot from the original versions, but they're just so embellished by such a great band that it really reinterprets them in a way that totally sounds fresh. Then you get to the second album, Goodens, in 1971, and you get more of the same. A lot of really great standards reinterpreted by this stellar band. You Done Tore Your Playhouse Down, Boom Boom, Out Go the Lights, Georgia Rag, Lord Pity Us All, Bald Headed Rumba Boogie, 29 Ways to My Baby's Door, and Ranky Tanky. And so between these two albums, you get a wide range of really cool, different variations on what a blues band can do. Um, Lots of standards, a handful of originals, and then just these killer players. And as I mentioned, Crowbar is certainly good on their own, but a magic combination putting King Biscuit Boy and Crowbar together to make these two albums in 1970 and 71. So I think they belong in anyone's collection, whether you're a blues fan or not. These records are so great that they just belong in any 60s, 70s record collection. Not to mention they have really cool covers and everything about them is great. And so, as I often say, when you check all the boxes, you've got a great singer, you got a great harp player, you got a couple of really killer guitar players, a really good keyboard player, and a killer rhythm section. So it's all there. They play with a lot of precision. They play with a really high level of energy, which is so refreshing. And then just these variations on these blues standards that really add to the repertoire. So a lot of these songs, certainly we've heard a lot of blues bands do over the years, but they don't really get much better than this. So anyway, I highly recommend King Biscuit Boy, these two records, Official Music and Goodens. As always, the links are down below. Check them out. Hopefully, there's some fans of my channel that like the full gamut, including blues bands. I've covered a lot of different variations on 60s and 70s rock now, including psychedelic and baroque pop, um, and progressive and hard rock and folk and all these variations in between rural rock. Um, that 60s, 70s period, it's all just top notch, and King Biscuit Boy is definitely no exception. Absolutely mandatory for anybody that's into 60s, 70s rock and or blues rock from that era. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.